Now, lower oil prices and Western financial sanctions imposed over the Ukrainian crisis are estimated to have cost Russia nearly $140 billion a year, which is equivalent to around 7% of its economy. Russian Finance Minister Anton Siluanov made the comments today at an international financial and economic forum in Moscow, where he added the fall in oil prices at the moment is Russia's biggest worry. Reports today have suggested Russia could cut its oil production by about 300,000 barrels a day in an attempt to support the price of oil. Oil and gas account for around 2/3 of Russia's exports, making the balance of payments highly vulnerable to oil price falls. Mr. Dan Poulton, a political activist, is joining us via Skype. Mr. Poulton, Putin has defiantly warned that Moscow will not allow itself to become internationally isolated. How do you think he's able to do that, though?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to be clear that we're looking at a form of economic warfare that's been started by the West over Russia's relations to Kiev, in particular in the Ukraine crisis. They've done this by restricting access to international markets and putting various members of the Russian state and businesses onto a blacklist. Now, as all kinds of warfare, there are opportunities for the other side to hit back. I mean, Russia controls a lot of gas exports to Europe, so that's an area, of course, where it could hit back, and it can also look elsewhere to international alliances to get some kind of support. Really, but obviously it's quite a serious situation. It's having a big impact on the Russian state, and any action that Russia takes to hit back is going to be interpreted by the West as more aggression and more attempts to exert its influence. So if the West keeps up its sanctions, anything that Russia does is going to deepen the situation. So it's forcing Russia into between a rock and a hard place, really.
And inevitably, these sanctions are having a negative effect on the Russian economy. To add to that, the fact of the falling oil prices, how long do you think the Russian economy will be able to stand this out?
Well, I mean, this is, of course, again, this is very serious. And if these sanctions are increased as threatened before very long, I mean, it's losing up to, say, $140 billion a year. That's a massive hit that's already starting to affect the economy, the ruble sliding and things like this. This could get quite serious quite quickly. So again, Russia will be looking at opportunities in the not too distant future to clamp down probably on gas exports to Europe, which is their strongest card. But of course, doing that will obviously will have a negative feedback on the Russian economy, because 2/3 of its economy is based on these fuel exports to Europe. But we're talking about months, I think, really. And if the West steps up its aggression within the next 6 months, something we'll have to give, really.
And as you're saying, if the Russians were to play the card of trying to reduce the supply of the gas that they export to Europe, that will somehow affect the European economy. So given that, will the Europeans, in your opinion, try to increase those sanctions, increase that pressure towards Russia, if it will inevitably have a knock-on effect and a negative impact to their economies?
Yes, it certainly would. It would be have a massive hit to European countries, and actually, the European Union is much more reluctant and hesitant to impose sanctions than are Britain and America, for the very reasons you mentioned, that it is in the interests of European states to trade oil, to trade gas with Russia, to buy Russian gas, and to export its own products to the Russian market. So the European Union is going to be slightly hesitant over this, but it seems to be very much America and the UK which are heading up these sanctions, really.
Mr. Dan Poulton, a political activist, thank you very much for joining us over Skype from London.